Welcome to my video, me Magicalmike, the biography of the world's greatest magician the last 50 years. The biography of David Copperfield Illusionist. You'll love this video. Let's go. David Copperfield was born in 1956 in Metamorphosis, New Jersey. He's now 66 years old. Amazing, isn't it? He, of course, went on to become the world's biggest magician of the 20th century, making over 17 television specials, and now resident is Las Vegas, the MGM Grand, having had a career spanning over 45 years. Incredible as it seems, Copperfield, of course, began in the 1960s as a magician and ventriloquist, but by the age of 18 or so, he had become quite a well-known ventriloquist and magician, performing briefly in Broadway and also being picked up by TV producer Joe Cates in America, where he performed on the Magic of ABC in 1977. He was thin, gaunt, good-looking guy, and also tall. He had all the requirements to be a great performer and great magician, entertainer, picking up influences very much from big performers like Harry Blackstone, Doug Henning. Of course, he was his rival in the 1970s, and also Italian-style magicians and Latino figures like Ricciardi, who had a kind of Latino style of romantic kind of magic, which very much influenced Copperfield, indeed, in the way he presented magic himself. And of course, great performers like Harry Houdini, who'd ruled magic in the early 20th century, were sort of powerful influences on Copperfield's mind, and also more contemporary performers like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and even people like Michael Jackson, and also classic performers like those kind of guys influenced Copperfield very much indeed. His first TV show picked up by Cates on a major US TV network was in 1978. Starring legendary artist and actor Mr. Orson Welles, who led the show. On it, Copperfield performed some extraordinary illusions, levitating himself, and also some other pieces of beautiful kind of romantic vignettes of magic and illusion. This led the way to his career, influencing many other magicians. By 1979, he performed another show. This one was impressive, with some beautiful illusions, including levitating a giant glitter ball around the stage, and again a very romantic New York style illusion, harking back to the days of the 1920s and 30s, and highly romantic kind of magic from that kind of era. Beautiful kind of illusions. He even dressed up as a detective in a Philip Marlowe sketch at the end of the show. But don't get me wrong, this show was an amazing, beautiful magic show, one of the best ever done actually, from 1979, and well worth checking out for you aficionados of magic out there who want to learn about the art of magic. This is a show you just gotta see. Copperfield number 2. The following year, 1980, Copperfield actually did another show, Copperfield number 3, hosted by Quincy from TV's fame, the famous actor Jack Klugman. This show was another spectacular magic show, mostly because it began with the levitation and vanishing of a red Ferrari, I think owned by magician John Gorn. This was another spectacular piece of magic, unseen before, and where Doug Henning had a vanishing motorcycle on television in America and around the world, and Doug Henning was at the time the world's biggest entertainer in magic. It was great to see this extraordinary, very baffling visual piece of magic. The rest of the show was also impressive, including an incredible version set in an art gallery of the classic linking rings. But things had to get even bigger for Copperfield, who was now in the age of 24, still very young, and still very, very determined to become the world's biggest magician and one of the biggest entertainers in the world of magic completely, because he decided in 1981 to vanish an airplane. This was the vanishing Learjet, a pretty big plane, not the biggest, on solid tarmac, I think in an airfield in Californian area. It was an incredible piece of magic, as you saw light shine through the wall surrounding the airplane, catching the airplane silhouette, and the airplane disappeared entirely. Very fast, very visual, very amazing, incredible piece of magic. The show from 1981, Copperfield number 4, was such a massive magic show. and went on to become the show that really broke him big around the world. In the UK alone, the BBC, the show was repeated 4 times. People could not get enough of this big giant illusion. And also Copperfield was cutting a smooth, suave kind of personality and character on television. The kind of Fred Astaire, Frank Sinatra of 1980s magic. And he looked really, really good. He didn't have many other rivals in magic. No one was quite as big as him. Perhaps maybe Paul Daniels in the UK or Lance Burton and other Las Vegas style performers. Copperfield was doing big magic and breaking the mould. Extraordinary as it seems, Copperfield also did some other beautiful bits of magic, including a wonderful piece of vignette with a beautiful ballerina routine that was quite exquisite. But things had to get even bigger. Copperfield was determined to get even bigger. By 1983, he wanted to make the Statue of Liberty disappear. This was going to be the biggest illusion ever performed. A gigantic, monumental piece of magic. The thing has never been repeated or done since in any kind of scale. The US government, Ronald Reagan, declined, but then he said he could do it. And an audience was brought one evening in early 1983 to the superb Liberty Island. An audience of real people, journalists, priests, real tourists, sat watching the Statue of Liberty through the scaffolding as the curtain rose and went down, and the statue completely disappeared in darkness, lit only by wonderful floodlights and a superb helicopter shot from above. This was another mind-blowing illusion, unseen since 1983. No one's tried to do anything ever quite as big as that. Copperfield, of course, associates himself now with himself, the Copperfield name and brand, with now the world's incredible big piece of magic, the Vanishing Statue of Liberty. Who else was going to do that? It was extraordinary. Along the way, he also wowed us with a wonderful version of his levitation of a beautiful lady and the dancing cane. This was beautiful, exquisite magic, wonderfully done, pretty much unseen in many other areas of the business at the time in 1983. Copperfield, of course, was now around about 26 years old. Pretty extraordinary to achieve this at that age, such a young age, to achieve such amazing abilities and amazing achievements. By 1984, he continued, but was facing the problem of trying to beat that huge illusion. He opted to do a kind of pop video with artist Bonnie Tyler, in which he floated over the Grand Canyon in an opening piece of magic. Some loved it, some hated it. He seemed to appear to levitate right over the Grand Canyon in this sort of pop video MTV type piece of magic, but it was too much for some people, and it drew some criticism, so other people really loved the illusion. He also, at the end of the show, did an incredible Houdini escape from a water torture cell underneath a giant metal spike. It was incredible. One movement wrong, if he hadn't escaped, he could have either drowned or been spiked to death. It was an incredible piece of magic. No one has quite ever done the water torture cell escape of Houdini's quite like that ever since. Extraordinary piece of magic. Copperfield continued to want to do big shows. By 1985, the year of Back to the Future, the 80s had really kicked in. It was the year of Live Aid and big shows and lots of MTV and lots of pop music in the charts. Copperfield did a kind of pop music piece of magic where he made a big television screen and projection, walking in and out of the screen, making an elephant appear from nowhere in this extraordinary interactive piece of MTV kind of magic. Unseen before on television. This was an astonishing piece of interactive kind of magic. But things had to get even bigger. Doing the same old sets of illusions was wonderful, but he still wanted to give the public around the world more incredible big illusions. He decided to walk through a wall like Houdini had done in the 1920s, but this time he wanted to fly half around the world to China to walk through the Great Wall of China. In 1985, a plane was chartered over to China to do this extraordinary illusion. He appeared from mist and smoke in a glass case in the centre of Beijing, illusion that was impossible to be done before. The Chinese Communist authorities allowing this illusion to be formed, it was quite a political breakthrough. He also made a woman's middle vanish, again in a square in central Beijing, in a wonderful piece performed to the music of Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. Very Miami Vice, very cool, very mid-1980s. Also very very breathtaking as well, quite exquisite. This kind of MTV kind of magic was kind of new to television at the time. In ensuing years, more artists and magicians would try and do this sort of cool magic, performing magic to current kind of pop music, in the way that perhaps TV shows like Miami Vice were doing that same sort of thing, using pop music in magic. At the end of the show, he went to the Great Wall of China, several miles out of Beijing. Picked a section of wall and he walked into cabinets lit by silhouettes, right into the wall, right through it, out the other side, and a mind-blowing illusion in which he really appeared to walk right through the Great Wall of China. This was one of the best illusions ever performed. Again, no one has attempted to do this sort of big magic since. As strong as it was, by 1987, Copperfield had really conquered the world, and people waited to see what big illusion he would do next. In 1997, he decided to escape from the world's most inescapable prison, Alcatraz. Extraordinary as it was, he went out to the superb Alcatraz Island in 1987, looking by this time every inch exquisite cool magician, white shirt and black trousers and designer kind of gear. The escape from Alcatraz was an intricate affair, escaping from the walls of the actual cell, straitjacket, escaping from explosives, a rough Doberman Pinscher dog chasing up the corridors, eventually vanishing inside a box and appearing in a helicopter, escaping off the island. This was another piece of exquisite, mind-blowing magic technology. Pretty incredible. Some people loved it, some people laughed at it, other people realised that this was really quite an incredible set of illusions that no one else was really doing this kind of magic. show also was wonderful, including escaping from the table of death at the beginning of the show, which again was performed really beautifully, exquisitely, and also the wonderful Splicer Illusion. Again, no one's done it quite as good as that version, again performed to the music of Phil Collins' I Don't Care Anymore. It was a wonderful piece of emotional magic. But things, of course, had to continue. These shows are big, expensive, drawing big audiences around the world, being picked up by TV stations all over the globe, trying to get a piece of the Copperfield 1980s style. In 1988, he went a step further still. He decided to challenge the forces of the Bermuda Triangle. He went to St. Croix in the Caribbean and erected a huge triangular framework. He also challenged the pyramid, was sucked into the pyramid and appeared in the middle of a triangular framework in the middle of the ocean by St. Croix in the Caribbean, US Virgin Islands, and then actually out of nowhere appeared a giant ship which then blew up and caught fire. Some people loved it again, some people weren't sure about it. It's a controversial piece of magic, but it's also expensive and incredibly beautiful piece of magic as well. Again, no one has done anything quite as amazing as this. This is really quite an extraordinary piece of magic and illusion. But the trick that really got everyone going on that show from 1988, Copperfield number 10, was the extraordinary buzzsaw or death saw illusion at the beginning of the show. This was, and still probably is, the best illusion ever staged. Copperfield laid down, he tried to do an escape went wrong, and he's cut clean in two. His body to the right, legs to the left. This was quite incredible when it eventually appeared on television around the world in 88, 89. No one ever had seen illusion quite as incredible as that. And to this day, I think the buzzsaw is still the world's greatest illusion, and the one illusion that maybe he should be remembered for. Extraordinary, incredible as it was. course, Copperfield then went on from that and that superb show, and it was one of the best shows, Copperfield number 10 really in terms of production standards, and taking on board promotion of the Caribbean islands and San Juan, particularly US Virgin Islands. Decided to go on from there and do one more big show, which was to go to South Carolina, escape from a collapsing building. Copperfield number 11 is personally my favourite of his magic shows. The whole show is exquisite. You want to see one magic show for 40 minutes in your life, then watch this show. The end illusion, he escapes from a collapsing hotel blown up by dynamite, and he appears on a metal plate in the car park 200 meters in front of the hotel. This is incredible and very highly dangerous piece of magic, unseen to this day. Incredible piece of illusion. The show also is pretty exquisite. The opening illusion, he appears on the motorcycle, is done so well. The music of the Pet Shop Boys, and also along the way, the best illusion in the show is his version of Origami Box, performed with his superb, beautiful dancer, the late Joan Spina. Another piece of exquisite, beautiful magic and illusion. After that, he went on, of course, to continue having to deliver for the US TV networks more big magic shows. By the year 1990, he decided to take on the old Houdini barrel escape over the edge of Niagara Falls. He was put into a yellow coffin, went over Niagara Falls, and appeared hanging from a helicopter. Pretty big illusion. It wasn't one of his best illusions, a pretty spectacular illusion as well. The show, he also vanished the TV camera and split a girl in 10 pieces. Next show, he had getting to 1990s, he actually did something pretty extraordinary, levitated and vanished one of the pieces and train parts, in fact a whole carriage of the famous Orient Express, the train that runs from the UK London to the Far East. He went to a giant aircraft hangar, levitated a great big piece of the train and vanished it, surrounded with people in a ring right round the train. This was again pretty extraordinary visually. The beginning of the illusion also was impressive, in which he did an incredible piece of magic where he turned a set of people, or a motorbike, into a set of people. Pretty incredible piece of magic that was as well at the beginning of the illusion. Along the way, also performing another set of incredible illusions. But at that time also, to freak everybody out, he was doing cut and restore rope routine, a classic of magic going back 200 years to the 18th century, and cut the end of his finger off. Had to go to the hospital for that one to get fixed. Shortly after that, anyway, Copperfield was still under pressure to continue to make big shows and big illusions. In 1992, he decided to break the barriers of magic again by doing the ultimate levitation. It was called the Flying Dreamer levitation. Now, this levitation he toured with for 5 or 6 years became the moniker of his 1990s stage shows. It was a really incredible piece of magic. He floated right around the stage like Peter Pan. through hoops and into glass cases to show there were no strings or wires or special effects at all. He even picked a member of the audience up, including the model Claudia Schiffer, and floated them right around the whole of the stage. This trick, he actually met Claudia Schiffer, dated her, and carried on dating her, including getting engaged to her for most of the 1990s. But unfortunately, the romance eventually broke off. Later on, he became partnered with a French lady called Chloe Gozlan and had a couple of children. This is pretty extraordinary stuff. This was another mind-blowing piece of magic. The show also was impressive, including being squashed in the squash box and also appearing from the lift from heaven. This is a pretty impressive magic show. Number 14 is Copperfield's favourite personal magic show, apparently, he says himself. And it's really brilliant magic show from 1992. In many ways, I think that's the last of his really great magic shows. The following year, he also performed a version of the Houdini upside down escape from a burning rope, a trick made actually famous by Alan Allen, the UK escapologist and illusionist, a friend of mine, who hung upside down from burning rope in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. Copperfield did his own version upon a huge bed of spikes, also performed by German illusionist Hans Moretti. Another wonderful piece, a spectacular illusion performed outside of a giant audience. This is pretty mind-blowing and extremely dangerous type of escape illusion. The show also shows some impressive magic, including a wonderful version of a classic Metamorphosis illusion where he and a girl change places really fast, again using modern pop music by Genesis to make the illusion feel very up to date, modern and very 1990s. Again, this is another terrific magic show from 1993. But they say the ratings interest started to wane by the early 1990s in Copperfield, despite the amazing Flying Dream illusion and magic and the spectaculars were slightly moving on. The following year he didn't do a show, but 1995 was his last really big magic show before his actual final show called the Spirit Theatre Show, in which he sort of challenged all kinds of Halloween type spirits, in fact doing a version of the kind of mind-reading Halloween trick where sort of spirits and ghosts come alive in the spirit cabinet. And he just sits in the cabinet tied up and ghosts and things fly all over the place, basically, even right around the whole theatre. Pretty impressive piece of magic, including also levitating tables. And he also did a couple of big illusions, including the blade, where he gets cut clean in two. In fact, the girl gets cut clean in two. And it's pretty impressive, a kind of vertical cutting, and also a version of the superb and wonderful version of being sucked into the another version of being sucked into the fan, okay, which is a spectacular piece of magic. The fan, where he's literally sucked into the fan with a girl that appears in the audience. This is getting a very spectacular piece of magic. He did this illusion an awful lot, the giant fan illusion. I think performed the music of Bono and U2, and indeed I think he performed this illusion on the Oprah Winfrey Show and the biggest shows of the period. But by 1905 the audience figures were starting to somewhat wane for the Copperfield camp. This world's great magician, the tall, thin, good-looking guy, you know, touring and performing around the world, touring immensely through Europe during the 1990s, particularly popular in places like US and Germany. Things are moving on, and by the late 1990s, the close-up street magician David Blaine was now becoming very popular. promoted by people like Leonardo DiCaprio and stars of the day. The David Blaine phenomenon was now obsession with street magic and close-up illusions, particularly close-up card magic performed without any special effects or any kind of special glitter at all on the streets of often American cities. By year 2000 and 2001, David Blaine became the #1 star. So to kind of come back from this, Copperfield did another show in 2001, a kind of comeback special, but like the Elvis 1969 comeback special. Copperfield, now older, probably about the age of 43 or 44, was older and wiser than he had been back in the 1980s. This was another spectacular show performed in a gigantic theatre with the audience around him 360 degrees. In this show, he levitated on a chair. He also performed and appeared from a giant floating sheet. He also straw an illusion where he made two girls disappear in one of his best ever illusions, called the Voyeur illusion, and I think the best illusion in the show. Beautiful piece of magic with two girls disappear. And also in illusion, he literally, have to say, quite extraordinary, teleported himself, okay, and a guy from the audience into a beach on a giant video screen, and then back from this beach, somewhere in the Caribbean, back into the auditorium. This kind of extraordinary teleportation effect called a portal. Some people love the illusion, some people didn't love the portal illusion. Extraordinary piece of magic, actually trying to use new ideas in teleportation, like something like Star Trek, to literally teleport yourself across the world. And some people did love that illusion. For me, maybe it wasn't his best illusion. It was quite impressive and really innovative and pioneering piece of magic that hadn't been done before by the year 2001. But of course, after this period and this 1 hour big magic show, in which he also challenged the forces of danger by literally getting himself stuck in a giant tornado at the end of the show, risking his life to be burnt alive and burnt to a cinder in a giant tornado, he was now becoming the stunt magician. And other magicians like David Blaine did the same sort of stuff, being stunt magicians, a kind of evil kind of stunt magician kind of thing, locking themselves in boxes of ice and hanging from giant boxes without any oxygen high up in the air. This is what David Blaine was doing. Copperfield was now getting into that kind of territory. But Copperfield was not doing any more TV shows. He was touring, and by the 2000s was investing in islands in the Bahamas and Musha Key. Extraordinary as it was, Copperfield remained a legend, and even though he did various TV appearances, he went from touring to become a resident in Las Vegas. The MGM Grand has been for some years, even during the recent pandemic, coming out of the pandemic and performing again his superb show, including some superb illusions, particularly spectacular appearance of UFO, and very hard to find that on videotape, trust me, appears at the end of the illusion, this spectacular sort of residential show in Las Vegas. And he's still drawing them in, along with Criss Angel, Penn and Teller, Puff the Magic Dragon. Copperfield is one of the guys, along with, of course, with new talent like Shimlin. He's now a resident performer in Las Vegas, continuing at the age of 66, 67, and approaching 70 years old. He's continuing to be a major draw on the Las Vegas circuit of magicians. What an extraordinary life he's had. Though there was a recent controversy, of course, as we all know, when apparently a member of the public, British guy, was injured, involved in the 13 illusion, where a number of people vanish inside a giant kind of box and appear somewhere else. This was an extraordinary illusion, and apparently someone was actually injured during the illusion. It ended up in a lawsuit, which Copperfield, thankfully, Copperfield actually managed to win the lawsuit, come out of it okay. But the secret of the illusion called 13, where people just literally vanish on stage in a giant box, it kind of nearly got exposed, but luckily for Copperfield, the illusion has gone on to become legendary, despite the sad controversy went on around that illusion, the extraordinary 13. There it is, Copperfield, the world's great magician of the 20th century, from 1978 to about 2001, ruled the airways and television around the world with his magic. A legendary magician alongside great magicians like Ricciardi and Slidini, and also with superb followers like David Blaine and Criss Angel, who've come out afterwards. I'm going to thank Copperfield for his massive contribution and his massive set of extraordinary, gigantic, big illusions that brought magic like no other magician to the worldwide public, made magic big and fashionable and popular again. The golden age of magic. I'm going to thank David Copperfield for that. Feel free to donate to the channel by clicking thanks on the bottom right of the screen so I can bring more magic to you guys. Remember, please like, please subscribe, and always remember click links below as always for 400 videos of magic and chat and illusion as always, guys. Please do with me, Magicalmike. Okay, in the meantime, look after yourselves, guys. If you want to donate some money, please do. Remember, click links below at the bottom right of the video and click the thanks link, and that will donate a couple of pounds. Please do as always, guys. The channel, please do, guys. Even a couple of pounds, couple of dollars, whatever, and keep the channel going for you guys. All right, guys. Simple as that. All right. In the meantime, look after yourselves as always, guys. And hope you enjoyed the video. It took me weeks to make the video, about 6 weeks to make the video on Copperfield. Big video, wasn't it? Bit of a change to what I normally do. Look at as always, guys. Remember, please donate, please subscribe, and see you very soon as always for more magic and chat with me, Magicalmike, and illusions. Love you all, guys. See you again very soon. Keep subscribing, and bye for now.